Greetings and welcome. In this video, I deal with a subject that I'm not particularly competent to handle, and that subject is the budget and the relief given particularly to the middle class, the great Indian middle class, raising the ceiling of tax exemption to rupees 12 lakhs per annum. As far as I'm concerned, further clarity needs to be obtained. I could be quite wrong on this, but that's how it strikes me now. But obviously, this is a tremendous boon to the people, though not to the poor, the lowliest and the lost, because such tax reliefs mean very little to them. Rather, it could have an inflationary effect, more money being in circulation, which could then affect the poorest of the poor even more harshly. But I don't want to be a doomsday prophet, so I will not go further along that track. But as of now, surely Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman have earned kudos almost from all sections in our society, at least all vocal sections of the society, and they have far exceeded the most robust expectations as far as income tax is concerned. And this is something to be appreciated, and I do appreciate it, and I salute especially Sri Narendra Modi, because without him this would not have happened. None of us is naive enough to believe that the Finance Minister of India, or for that matter any other Minister of India other than perhaps Amit Shah, enjoys any degree of independence in thinking or acting. The entire energy decision-making power of the government is located in Sri Narendra Modi first and Sri Amit Shah second. So ideally it should be called Modi-Shah combined. The two function as one, which is not a bad thing, because unity in thinking and acting is extremely good for effectiveness. And there is no doubt at all that the present government is effective, and effective to what purpose is something that we shall not discuss in the present video. What I propose to do here is to examine this unexpected bonanza, this almost flattering boon to the Indian middle class, and offer a perspective for understanding it. And obviously my perspective is different from the perspective of anyone else, otherwise I would not have made this video. And therefore I begin my presentation or my argument with a caveat that I am not a finance expert or a thoroughbred economist, and what I am offering is a layman's perspective, and if there are theoretical and philosophical inadequacies in this, please forgive, and as and when my understanding is proved wrong, I'll produce more videos apologizing for the mistakes I would have inadvertently committed. But please notice that I have allowed a certain amount of time to elapse between the presentation of the budget and the making of this video, because I wanted to continually question my own understanding to see if there is any lacuna or any gap in my argument. So far I have not been able to find any, and that's why I finally decided to do this video. Now my fundamental thesis is that this bonanza would not have just happened like that. It happened because of the 2024 general elections. And to that extent, the credit for this must go not only to Prime Minister Modi, not only to the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, it should go to the people of India, and in particular to the people of Uttar Pradesh, the voters of Uttar Pradesh. If and about this I am pretty sure, if the results in the 2024 general elections were as expected by Sri Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, with BJP winning more than 330 seats in the Lok Sabha, then I am pretty sure that the Indian middle class would not have got this bonanza. The 2024 general elections results proved beyond any doubt that the Indian citizens cannot be taken for granted. It proved beyond any doubt that the ultimate analysis, the deprivations that people feel cannot be masked or eclipsed through any kind of communal show of hands, sleight of hands, or ideological propaganda blitz, that end of the day, the citizens will also mind, apart from the sense of religious euphoria that all people would welcome. But if that religious euphoria is also not sustained, supported and maintained by corresponding improvements in the physical, material, day-to-day life conditions of the people, then there could be a backlash. That's, I think, the most significant message derivable from the last Lok Sabha elections. And hence, the present outlandish, generous gesture to the great Indian middle class. Again I say, I have no quarrels with it, rather I appreciate it, and I salute the Prime Minister for taking this initiative. Because at least this has helped to soften the impression that the Prime Minister is all for the richest of the richest, the billionaires of India, who have generously enjoyed the Prime Minister's goodwill to the tune of lakhs of crores of rupees being underwritten or exempted from, and that's fairly well known. Some like 10 lakh crores is mentioned as the total benefits, hidden and not so hidden, given to the Indian affluent class, the 400 top people of India, the richest people of India, the captains of Indian industry, under whatever pretext we all know, therefore they don't have to be mentioned here. So, the main message transmitted or broadcast by the last elections is that when it comes to elections, it's not the 400 billionaires or 500 billionaires that matter, it's the middle class that matters. Because the lower middle class and the poorest of the poor, those below the poverty line, can always be placated with tokenisms. Tokenisms. Again, I will not go into the details of tokenisms, but the middle class cannot be placated for or kept placated for any length of time through tokenisms. They would demand something substantial, something tangible, something that makes a difference in their pocket. And that is what has been achieved through the just concluded budget presentation. Now, what is the particular angle from which I understand this? Believe it or not, the first thought that struck me when I was listening to the presentation of the budget was the Prime Minister's claim that he is not of human origin, or at least he works according to divine promptings. Now, I have to say that unlike most others, I don't view these statements in a light-hearted manner. I don't ridicule or revile these statements, largely because I have a very small historical perspective. My sense of history tells me that history has seen many people, far too many people, who succumbed to this inclination to deem oneself divine because they were riding the crest of worldly success. Alexander, for example, succumbed to the delusion that he was the son of God. Many pharaohs in Egypt did the same, and the list can be quite impressive. So it's not Sri Narendra Modi alone who belongs to this camp or this group. The list is pretty impressive. Now, what is the reason for it? When a person is in a state of assured success of a universal proportion, or so it seems, extraordinary mega success, when a person goes from success to greater success to infinite success, it's only logical. There's nothing surprising about it. And when success is conjoined with the intoxicant of power, it's only logical, in fact, it's inevitable that the person concerned develops delusions of divinity. So it is quite a natural, quite an ordinary thing, and I appreciate the Prime Minister for making a public statement of it. Most others would harbor it as a secret thought and behave accordingly, but he thought it wise, for whatever reasons, to reveal it to the entire nation. But I also appreciate the Prime Minister for correcting his stand. More recently, has stated that he deems himself human. Now, this is very important, and why it's important not just for the Prime Minister, it's important for the people of India, because no one can get into a state in which one becomes a prey to such delusions but for the people of a country. So the people, if not the whole people, at least those belonging to a particular bloc, they were largely instrumental and therefore mainly responsible for the Prime Minister's acquiring this mental state, which, as I said, is perfectly understandable. I don't blame him one bit. Now, it shows that Indians as a whole lack objectivity or courage of convictions, and that there is a cultural weakness in our midst, namely that we have a tendency to exaggerate everything, and that the psychology for that compulsive need to exaggerate must be understood. When a people have very mediocre achievement, or when the majority of the people are languishing in material disempowerment and human undernourishment, they have a need, they develop a psychological need to look at anything which seems to be even slightly above them and exaggerate its importance to the point of considering such individuals and entities as divine. So it is more a reflection of our own underdevelopment than the supernatural dimension of a particular individual's personality that is at play here. And therefore, what is needed is for us to become aware of the fact that as a nation we need to develop the critical spirit, which is mentioned in Article 51A of the Indian Constitution, which prescribes the responsibility, the duties of citizens. Unfortunately, very little is being said about this in public. So we are, as citizens of India, obliged to develop a scientific temper and a critical bent of mind, so that we don't allow ourselves to be carried away for want of objective standards by the things that happen in front of us, and therefore a sense of proportion can be developed only if we develop the critical spirit. The other is the blind adoration, which is fostered by the religious spirit. We are unfortunately too religious for our own benefit. This religious spirit makes us, which is far more common in the Indian psyche, Indian society, than the critical scientific spirit. This religious spirit or religious inclination makes us exaggerate and hyper exaggerate whatever we consider to be beneficial. A small evidence of that is, you will see the sticker stuck on various cars, a gift of God. Now, God, of course, had nothing to do with it. The car was bought with money borrowed from banks, but because the person who now owns the car thinks that something that he thought unattainable till the other day has been achieved, and therefore he must bring God into it. So the car almost reaches the level of divinity because it's a gift of God. So he connects the car with God. So even the car also is projected to the level of divinity. That's our weakness. And that weakness, in my opinion, is induced in us by our religiosity. Now, in contrast to this, let me draw your attention to a practice that was quite common in Rome, say 2000 years ago to 1900 years ago. Those were the days of conquests, when a Roman general returned home after great victories abroad, whether it is Julius Caesar or Pompey or whoever. It was customary in those days for them to undertake a triumphal procession, a triumphal procession. Now, interestingly, as the victorious general went on this triumphal procession through the streets of Rome, and people will be gathered all around, thousands and thousands would be cheering this great leader, this great military general, and cheering to the echoes of heaven. There will be a servant of the general traveling with him in the same chariot. It's very interesting. And the function of that servant is to keep whispering into the ears of the general, "You too are mortal. You too are mortal. You too are mortal." Now, unfortunately, in our context, the triumphal procession is there, but the servant authorized to whisper into the ears of the general, "After all, you too are mortal," is absent. That's the difference between the Roman culture of those days and our culture today. On the other hand, not only that, this servant who keeps the general anchored in the world of realities is absent. We have tens and thousands of people, including scientists, doctors, IIT directors, etc., media moguls, thinkers, university professors, culture heroes, opinion makers, standing around and lustily cheering and cheering a particular individual to go higher and higher and higher in this delusion of divinity. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's why I'm saying that this particular lacuna has been compensated in by the election results of 2024, which whispered into the ears of Mr. Modi what the servant of the general used to whisper into the ears of the Roman generals 2000 years ago: "You too are mortal, you too are mortal, you too are mortal." And I think the proposal to take care of the Indian middle class is a direct outcome of Modi's date with reality. That's the only way in which I can understand this. But what I have said just now should in no way dilute the positive and the good aspect of this decision, irrespective of from which context it has originated. This is a highly necessary, highly desirable, and in fact long overdue measure. And I wonder why UPA could not have thought about it. UPA could have done much more than they actually did. And the fact that it is done by Modi and his cabinet does not prevent me, even by a small margin, the freedom to accept and acclaim its positive aspect, and even more than the money involved. What I appreciate most, and I want to underline this, what I value, what I appreciate most is not so much the monetary relief meted out to the middle class. It is the greater sense of realism that is born into the political consciousness of India, particularly in the corridor of power, which is a very healthy thing for the country as a whole. And I can only hope and pray that this sanctified sense of nascent realism will play out in its many beneficial implications and turn it and work out to the greater benefit not only to benefit not only of the middle class, more particularly of the poor and the downtrodden in this country. That's my fervent wish. But again I say, I wish to congratulate the people of India for achieving this for themselves, because if they had voted differently in the 2024 general elections, the present budget would not have been born. Absolutely certain about it. Well, if you have a different opinion on this matter, please let me know. All the very best to each one of you. Jai Hind.